The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.
Gates here on SportsTownChicago.com with Ryan Risky and Ryan Stuprich. We just got off the phone with John Arguello of Cubs Den, talking about the Cubs offseason, some insight going into spring training, and a couple prospects, the plan for Kyle Schwarber. And right now, some minor news, the Cubs invited former outfielder Matt Merton they gave him a minor league contract with an invite to spring training.
The man of 2006, right?
Yeah. Well,
the face of the franchise.
I remember 2007, he actually had a nice year off the bench. I think he ended up hitting like 8 home runs in a brief time.
I don't remember that. I just remember all the bad. That's all I remember.
Yeah. He did break Ichiro's record for hits in a season in Japan.
I did hear that. Yeah, that was, a couple years ago, I think he did that.
Which, honestly, it's not a bad signing, in my opinion, just a minor league deal. And if he plays well, he can make the team as their right-handed hitting outfielder. Remember, I expressed a little concern about that, not having one that you could split against some tough lefties or pinch hit late in games. If he has a nice spring, he might be a nice offensive option coming off of the bench to pinch it, because he did hit well against lefties while he was with the Cubs. Yeah,
because you'll have Coughlin as your left-handed guy off the bench, and a couple starts here and there maybe, and then. Yeah, I think Matt Merton would be an okay choice. At this point, it can only help. It's not going to hurt the team if he gets at bats.
Yeah, he'll bring more offensive potential than Matt Caesar, except he obviously won't have the defensive potential or versatility that Caesar has. Except right now, if you're trying to fill out the bench, David Ross is the catcher. You're going to have Chris Coughlin as a backup outfielder, nice left-handed option off the bench.
Yep.
You're going to have Javier Baez,
right,
and then you're going to have an extra outfielder, probably would be Matt Merton, and then another infielder, which that could be a number of players.
Because I guess Chris Denorfia is not going to.
No, they didn't re-sign him.
Yeah, he'll end up somewhere. I'm sure.
His bat tailed off so much at the end of the year.
It really did. Besides that walk-off home run against the Royals, which you were at that game, he didn't do much throughout September.
No, because if you remember the first half of the season, it seemed like every at-bat, even when he was making outs, he was making hard contact, some solid line drives.
I think he hit a 3-run homer in Minnesota or something around Father's Day. Something like that. He hit a 3-run homer in like a blowout game. Dexter Fowler hit a grand slam.
It might have
same
been
weekend, I think.
The Indians when they played at Cleveland.
Oh, that would have been right before that.
17-0. Bryant hit a grand slam and Denorfia hit a home run.
Okay, yeah. Well, either way, he had a pretty good first half. Second half, not so much. But that's okay. He's
a nice veteran option, except it was kind of one of those things. He's kind of a one-and-done type player.
Yeah, which, happens, especially when you have a good team like the Cubs are now. You get a lot of those one-and-done type things just to fill out the roster.
Right, fill out the roster, bring some veteran experience, maybe a little specialty like being able to hit left-handed pitching.
Well, of course, we also got the crazy guy from Toronto, Kawasaki or whatever.
Kawasaki, that's right. Yeah. He's another guy that could fill out the bet.
He's not a bad bench player spot. Either. He's pretty good. He hit a couple walk-offs with Toronto, I remember.
Yeah, he's kind of versatile. The Cubs have some options, and then they have some younger players that could fill out the roster as well.
Yeah, it's not a bad position to be in. Obviously, the only issue is the Pirates are still good with their very good pitching, and they also have very good outfield.
Right.
They might have the best outfield in all of baseball, if not
the best young
the
outfield.
Cubs and stuff are also far up there, but Schwarber in left field kind of hurts you defensively, technically. But
it does, and as we talked about with John in regards to the Pirates, they have a great outfield, they have a great pitching staff, and they have some great young pitchers, and Jameson Taillon and Tyler Glass now still moving through the system, and Nick Kingham. They've got some hard power-throwing right-handed pitchers in their system.
Right. And Milwaukee is going to be a better team next year, too, with them getting Lucroy back, and then they traded for Aaron Hill to fill out second base. I think Gene Segura went to Arizona in that deal.
Yeah,
it was interesting.
He did. They had to make room, though, for Orlando Arcia, their first-round draft pick last year. They're probably their shortstop of the future. They did trade Adam Lind to Seattle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so do they have a first baseman of any kind right now? I don't even know what they have.
They probably sign someone. an interesting free agent that, if you look at the free list of free agents that are still out there, it's kind of mind-boggling what good ones are left. As we mentioned, Dexter Fowler. Like, I want him to sign just so the Cubs can get that draft pick for him.
Right, and then Andre Ethier had a very good year with the Dodgers. He's still out there as far as we know it. So.
Well, he's still with the Dodgers. So you'd have to get him in a trade.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk that I think
the White Sox.
The White Sox at one point, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think they match
the
up well enough. And there's still Pedro Alvarez on the market.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising because if you put him in a hitter's ballpark, he can still hit 30 home runs or more.
I'm surprised an American League team hasn't tried to sign him, especially a team like Tampa Bay that could probably get him for a little cheaper of a contract than you would expect at this point, where he could just DH there and give them a big power bat.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to look up what Milwaukee's depth chart looks like right now because I really want to know who's their first baseman. I'm not sure, but I mean the NL Central as a whole, is not as bad as people say. I mean
the Reds aren't going to be good.
No, but they do have some good individual players.
And then,
which can upset a lot of teams.
A couple other pitchers still on the market. There's Giovanni Gallardo. He's another guy attached to draft pick compensation. And that's one of the tough things where some of these guys that are getting these qualifying offers, the problem is they're just not good enough that you'd want to give up a draft pick for. Like Giovanni Gallardo, a nice guy that can fill out a rotation.
Yeah.
Except he's not the kind of guy you want to give up a draft pick to sign.
No, that's true. Before we do an update, the first baseman for the Brewers is Chris Carter. Surprisingly enough,
that's right. He was non-tendered by the Astros.
Yeah,
kind of fell into Pedro Alvarez territory. Just couldn't hit the ball enough to stay with the team to make up for what his salary would have been through arbitration.
Yeah, I mean it's a bad rotation, but it's not a bad offensive team. You have Chris Davis in left, Santana in center, Ryan Braun in right field, of course, and then Aaron Hill is listed at third base. Scooter Gennett is listed at second. Jonathan Villar, shortstop. Chris Carter, first base, and then, of course, Jonathan Lucroy behind the plate.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad team, but if Braun has a good year, that could, jumpstart him. And if Lucroy isn't hurt all year like he was last year, that could help him, too, and that's another team that could not go to the playoffs or be better than the Cardinals and Pirates and Cubs, obviously, but they could
I think
play
they'll be
spoiler.
better than the Reds.
Yeah.
The Reds, I mean, they've got some...
They sort of have to be better than the Reds.
They're kind of in the same spot as the Reds. They've got some good, aging offensive pieces, except their pitching staff is just horrible.
And that's going to be, a very interesting hearing on Tuesday. We have to wait until Tuesday to see what happens there, but... hopefully they can get something done.
Yeah, hopefully it's not as bad as it sounds with Arrieta wanting $13 million and the Cubs countering with $7.5.
$7.5 seems kind of low for someone that just won the Cy Young.
When I read that, I was like, that really sounds really low for the season that he had. Honestly, they should try to agree on something around 11 or 12 and have at it.
Yeah, I'd be okay with it. Because either way, they're not going to let him go.
I don't see. He's still under team control. I don't see any way the Cubs win this hearing because they're offering too low of a salary.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win. I mean, normally people tend to side with the player anyway, I would think. So I don't think we have to worry about it. Hopefully there won't be any bad blood between them because we have him still for a little bit. And then hopefully he'll be here for his whole career if he can be. That would be the plan anyway. But yeah, you got to agree on a number, and 7.5 seemed kind of low. 13 million seemed kind of high, maybe. But if they can meet, like you said, 11 or 12, I think that would make a lot more sense.
Right, and even then, 13 doesn't sound that bad for a guy that's just won the Cy Young.
No, that's if it was Kershaw, it'd probably be more. He'd probably be asking for more than 13 if he was in this situation.
He'd probably be asking for 20.
And same with Zach Greinke and some of those players, they'd be asking for a lot more. But of course, Jake Arrieta has been good for just about 2 seasons now, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can be even better in his 3rd season, which I don't know how you get much better than his second half last year.
Yeah,
but
I think it's realistic to expect him to degress,
Yeah.
And then the ERA probably will jump over 2.
Oh no! Yeah, jumps over to the one guy that hopefully can have a little bit of a better year, at least more of a consistent year, is John Lester. Because there were some outings where he was just awful, and then other outings where he was very good, and people still didn't give him his credit.
At least in that first half of the season, there were so many games he was pitching like 3 or 4 innings and allowing 5 runs.
Right, and he cut down on that in the second half, and the
half,
offense sparked, which helped him a lot.
His only really horrendous outing in the second half was that game against Detroit, who for whatever reason always hits him hard.
Yeah, that's very true. They hit him hard, and then of course John Lackey is the third man, and Hendricks is fourth, and Hamill is fifth. At least that's how it's listed on MLB.com. But that's true. I guess because of the experience, I guess Jason Hamill could be the fourth man, and Hendricks would be the fifth spot. Although it doesn't really matter where they end up. It doesn't matter about their official spot anyway. So
right, and I know don't have the schedule in front of me, except depending on what that is, they might skip the fifth man to start out the season if they have enough off days.
It's possible. I can take a quick look here.
I know that's what a lot of teams do when you have a couple extra off days at the beginning of the season. They'll deploy a 4-man rotation just to keep those guys on the 5 days of rest.
Right. It looks like the season opens up April 4th, Monday, April 4th. The Cubs will be in Anaheim, which is kind of a weird spot. They're going to be starting the season in interleague play. They play the 4th, the 5th, off day the 6th, and then they're at Arizona for a 4-game series, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that would be Arrieta, Lester, and then off day, and then they would have Lackey and Hendricks and Hamill, and then probably back to Arrieta on Sunday the 10th, something like that. So I think it'll work out.
Is it a 2-game series against the Angels?
Yes, it is. At least that's what it says.
All right, so then that'll be a 2 away, 2 at home situation.
Yeah, and then the Cubs home opener is Monday, April 11th against the Reds. And they have a promotion, and the promotion is the Cubs Magnet schedule, which I think they do every year for that.
the one they give out every year.
Yeah, so the Cubs Magnet schedule, 7:05 game, and then they have an off day that Tuesday, and then 2 more games, Wednesday and a Thursday, all-night games. So there you go.
All right, well, that'll end this segment right here. We'll be back on probably to talk a little about the Bulls and the Blackhawks, and then at 7 o'clock we will have Chris Simpson of the Daily Blitz on to preview the Super Bowl. You're listening to the Sports Renegades on SportsTownChicago.com.
The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.